Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 16. Today we are talking about some new music gear, stuff fresh off of NAMM 2022, and we'll be talking about whether TikTok is changing the musical landscape for marketing. This is an interesting topic from our friend Hydrofighter, who joins us as Curtis could not make it today. We appreciate Hydrofighter hopping in today. How are you?
Hey, thanks guys for having me on. I am
Thanks for coming
fabulous.
on.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. How are you
How are you?
doing?
I'm good. I'm just doing my thing. I'm still getting fresh with the VCV rack.
Oh yeah,
So
how's that going? Have you been messing with it at all?
I have. I'm not getting too deep. I'm trying not to soak in too much. Doing simple things. Just subtractive synths, simple FM synths, effects, drones, basses. So I'm trying to design parts for how I actually write on normally, right?
Yeah.
I don't want it to change my style yet until I can get a real grip on it, and then I'll advance to that level.
And is it making you want to get into the real modular world at all? Like
It will.
Eon Lake over there?
It will, but it'll
Oh
be
no.
like it'll be a year before I get
Oh,
down
okay. So you're
that
starting
rabbit
to
hole.
change your tune though. You're starting to embrace the hardware bank loan cycle.
I am, but I want to get my knowledge deep into it before I buy something that I'm not 100% on yet, right?
Yeah. So is the plan maybe to incorporate it into your workflow through the digital one, like get it into some songs first, see
Yep.
how you like all that, and then go
Yep.
from there. All right.
Yep.
Maybe some KST.
Actually, I think that's where it's probably going to be implemented the most
Very cool. Okay.
because I have other ideas I want to execute for the Hydrofighter stuff. So it's cool to have separate ideas for the different projects.
Yeah,
that you work
definitely.
on.
It makes them sound different too.
Yeah, and then the other thing I've been doing with it is in Eon. You're probably familiar with Omri Cohen,
Oh yeah.
right? So he does all these videos, and then he allows everybody to download his patches. So I take his patches, and then I watch the videos, and then I reverse engineer it to go from the mixer backwards, and I take out the things that I don't want because I don't want all of the stuff that he has in there. It's too
Yeah.
dense for me to understand that. So
Mhm.
kind of learning it that way as well. I mean, that guy is massive fast, and he gets it, and I've got to sit and tear it all apart to dissect it. So
Yeah, well, that's cool. And also with us today, as I already mentioned, is our friend and colleague Eon Lake. How are you today, my friend?
I'm good, thanks. It's quite warm here. I'm
Uh,
good.
is the
I'm
AC
missing
on?
Josh. I'm contractually obliged to say I'm missing Josh. Miss you, Josh.
Yes, contractually obliged. No, we really do miss having Curtis on today, but he's doing an Eon Lake and on vacation, so we must.
Yeah, well,
We must march on.
Yeah.
I'll be off for a week or two in a couple months, so well, we all gotta
Yeah.
do it sometimes. It's nice to take a break, but we appreciate Hydrofighter stepping in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, I mean, this saves me asking him all about what he's been doing with VCB work.
Well,
because
even though he's not
it's
here,
high on my list.
that's true. Yeah, and even though Curtis isn't here, we'll be mentioning a little bit about what he's up to because he is, of course, the co-pilot of Audionautic. But yeah, Eon, like, what have you been up to lately, musically?
Musically, I've been running everything I've got through a Lyra 8 to get the distortion and the analog delay and the LFOs on it. It's a Russian, very quirky piece of kit, analog synth, but it's got inputs and it has a distortion circuit and a delay circuit and an LFO that affects both of them. And wow, the things it can do. It can make anything scream, including drums, which is interesting. I haven't heard drums scream before, but they did this week. So I've got it set up on a send from my mixer now, so I can just put anything through it. And generally, I've just been distorting everything and seeing what happens. Rediscovering Eurorack as well, though, because I've been getting deeper into the Squarp Hermod sequencer and the Make Noise Rene just messing around with those self-modulating patches where they reset themselves halfway through or cause the pattern to go backwards and so on.
Was that the one you were using for the stuff we're doing on Starstream, the toy box stuff you sent?
Was I using that? I think it was, yeah, actually.
Yeah.
But most of that was coming from Morphogene.
Oh, okay.
The Make Noise Granular Sampler module, which is a lot of fun as well. I usually run that in line, so if at any point I want to record a little clip and start messing around with it, you can do that, and you can change the balance between what it's playing and the input, so you can have a bit of both, basically. So you can pinch a bit and pitch it up, or do something weird with it and have some of the original signal as well.
Yeah.
All sorts of things like that, just fun stuff, just messing around. Because I'm in a big writing cycle at the moment, and very much the idea generation end of it. So the whiteboard's getting a lot of use. There's one I'm doing like 303 only. I haven't done that one yet, but I'm looking forward.
Oh, that'll be a fun one.
Ooh.
So yeah, I just trying stuff out, goofing around, and man, I get some surprising results, actually, some surprisingly usable results.
That's sick.
So yeah, this is what I always meant to do this year a bit as well, was to dig deeper into what's already here, try and get some more varied results from it, and it's working all right. And also the lyra's got this mad sort of like sustained tone. So I took that and started running it through the sub 37 with an arpeggiator running on it to chop it up. So I'm using the envelopes on the sub 37 to, stop it from being so washy and so on. That was quite interesting too. And running it through auto filter, so that it's working like a gate, and then sticking an LFO on the rate of the gate. So it's doing, 16ths, 8ths, 16ths, 8ths, halves, and varying between them.
Oh, that's sick.
Lots of stuff like that.
This is what I have to look forward to, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, it makes you think about things differently. That's one thing I did learn from sticking cables into all the different bits, was it does make you think about things slightly differently. Give you ideas.
And what about you? What about you, Sunwarper? How does Curtis normally say this? I think he says bro. What about you, bro? What are you up to?
You gotta have that English accent, though. It's not quite there.
I was going to see if I could get a wig.
You're across the pond still. You need a little wig and that nice goatee. But you're getting there. You're getting there with that shadows.
He sways a little bit, and he does this arms up thing. And gets excited. So he's here in spirit.
Well, I guess before I go to me, I should cover Curtis, because he's not here and he's here in spirit. So Curtis, and on the Audionautic front, just dropped a EP with Spectre on Audionautic Records called Psychonautic Volume 2. I had the pleasure of mastering it. It was quite a lot of fun. There's one song that's like 20 minutes long that was an interesting challenge for me to master, but it's a great track, and awesome. I really love how it developed, just so expansive and stuff. So I really wanted to do it justice. But yeah, you can check that out. The Bandcamp link should be in the description for our record label. And then still on Audionautic Records, but more on what I've been doing lately, Curtis and I are working on a follow-up to our collab EP Voyage. And this one is going in some weird places. We originally were like, let's just do a little quick lo-fi collab, And then I was like, well, I'll do one song with some vocals. So I'll make a hook and send it to you. You write the song, and then I'll add vocals. And then he sent me these really cool, true to the form we agreed upon, lo-fi tracks. And I've just turned them into, I don't even know what. One song has become this like 66 BPM doom stoner metal song with like a lo-fi beat. I have 4 tracks of that drop A baritone guitar with just like massive distortion. It's interesting. It sounds great though. Like I that's the thing that's awesome about working with Curtis and just collabs in general, is getting out of your comfort zones and doing things in ways you wouldn't expect because you're inspired by what's originally there by someone else. So that's what I've been up to. It's been fun.
He's a broad-minded dude, isn't
he? Yeah, that's true.
He gives you room.
Yeah, a lot of room. Yeah, and I don't know what he's done with the 2 tracks I sent him. I'm not sure if he's had time to work on it because he's been on vacation, but we're shooting to get that out pretty quick. So it's meant to be just something like We throw some experiments, see what sticks, and call it a day. Kind of like what we talked about with 59 Perlin last week, where we set a schedule, and whatever it is, it's done by X date and it's going out. So it's been fun.
Curtis is the king of collaborations.
Yeah. I mean, he just put out the one with Willebrandt, and then with Spectre, and then we'll have one out. I know he's working with a bunch of other people. Oh, but you were talking about downloading patches from someone, right? For your VCD rack.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring up a question because I've been planning to do another sample pack, and I want to do a guitar one. And I was originally planning to do just chords, but now I'm kind of debating: do I want to do like chord progressions and have like 6 chord progressions, or just have some chords? So I was curious what you guys think. If you were to get guitar samples, would you want whole progressions or like melodies, or just single notes or chords?
I prefer single notes because then you can throw it into a sampler and build the chords.
Yeah.
But
a chromatic scale in there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Do like a chromatic scale, a couple chords. That's not a bad idea.
I think having a few chords in there kind of helps out a little bit. It's nice to have a sample in there by itself and then work the sample, the sampler around what that sample is.
Yeah.
I mean, I love reversing guitars.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm doing on this collab. The other song is like all trippy reversed. I'm sorry, I'm just turning the fan on as it's getting ridiculously hot in here. But yeah, that's what we're doing. It's all these. He had these really nice reverb guitars, and I kept those and added a bunch, and they're just all reversed, things like that. And everybody in the chat, let me know your thoughts. If you got a sample pack of guitars, would you want chords, notes, whole chord progressions and melodies? I'm curious, because I want to get that one out. What's that, Ian Lake?
Chords in a key, maybe, in the spirit of, everyone wants everything done for them.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Maybe multiple packs in separate keys.
You some of the less traditional chords, perhaps, that still go.
The Thelonious Monk chords that with so much dissonance that you've got every note in there anyways.
Yeah, there you go. Just do single notes of that chord, and you're covered.
It's jazz, man.
Yeah, it's jazz,
also, man. I don't know. Are there any noises or something that you could use from a guitar to... I'm thinking about string sample libraries where they give you some of the sounds that you get from
like
violin.
Pick slide.
Yeah,
and like hitting the thing, that Radiohead creep chunk.
Something weird. Yeah.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. Those unique ones. Yeah, but
rhythmical bits that aren't really enough to be in any kind of pitch or key.
Yeah.
That you could just use as percussion.
What's it called? The Labs. Who does those Labs? Spitfire. They have that one violin one that's just like weird.
All
sounds
the other
from
notes
it or something.
aren't notes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good idea
brilliant.
Too. Yeah, look at you. I got to give you royalties for that one though, right?
Right, man.
Well, we've got a lot to talk about today, so maybe we should get on to the topics. But I appreciate your guys' opinions on that. Ian, like, you're doing the Curtis job today of sharing your screen and stuff. What?
Yes.
What do you want to talk about first? I'll give you choice.
Which one have we got? Well, the first up we've got here is Mavis. I thought we were gonna.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, let's have that.
Let's hope there's no tech issues. Everybody cross your fingers.
Let's have. Here we go.
I'm not seeing anything. There we go. It's like it's taking a minute.
It's worth the wait.
Yeah, it's worth the wait. This is sweet. I'm just gonna move our camera a little bit so we can see. So this is a new Moog synthesizer. They say it's a budget-friendly, semi-modular analog synthesizer. It looks sick. I believe it's build it yourself, right? It's a DIY.
Bit like the Vex.
Yeah, you have to assemble it yourself.
Yeah. I wonder how complicated the build is.
I watched a video on it, and it didn't seem that complicated.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
if you
So
know
it's
how
like
to hold the screwdriver, use a screwdriver, you're probably going to be in good shape.
So it's like that Korg NTS1, that like $100. That synth is sick, but you just build it with like a little tiny screwdriver they give you. But that's cool. So it's semi-modular, like the Erebus and a couple other Moog synths. And what else does it got? You know, like, do you have what the others?
What has it got? It's a mono synth, obviously.
So the pads down below are actual key triggers. So you
Sure
see
looks
it's kind
like
of
it.
set up like a piano.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like another 32, it's got a tiny 1-octave keyboard there. I mean, it's pretty simple. A single LFO, from what I can see there, and it's single envelope. But again, it's got sockets on it, which mean plug it into something that's an LFO.
Yeah.
Add one. That's the beauty of the whole thing, right?
Do you see
I
yourself
mean,
getting one maybe for the modular setup?
you see, I've often thought about these small Moog boxes, like
Yeah.
like the old Taurus and the Worksat that they did. They tend to create these things for Moogfest, so that they have these sessions where you can all sit down and build one.
Oh,
You sort of buy it and you build it at the festival where,
yeah.
with their engineers looking over your shoulder and everything. It's part of it's a nice practical activity. It's like, painting pottery, but a bit more fun, and you get a sense at the end of it. So I don't know. I mean, $350 US. That's
It's not
they don't do
cheap.
much at that price point, do they?
Yeah.
Bad though it's not bad though.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's a decent price.
It's not cheap. You're right. It's cheap for Moog,
Yeah.
but not cheap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the research I did on it, the faulty parts was that keyboard. It said it's something you could use to help generate the tones to build your sounds, but it's not something you would want to play on a gig.
That makes
And the
sense.
other thing the guy said is the tuning part. So some of the fine tuning you have to use a tool, a plastic screwdriver tool that comes with it. He said you lose that thing, you're kind of screwed. You can
Yeah. Oh, you
use
mean for the
that.
calibration?
But the sound of it sounds really good.
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
and
it's
being-
a Moog, right? It's
yeah.
gonna sound good. You expect
Yeah.
It's got wave folding on it, though, hasn't it? And Moog, I don't think they've had wave folding on anything ever before.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun, really, wave folding. It can sound a bit like distortion when you use a lot of it.
What's
Yeah.
what's wave folding?
It's it kind of squishes up the wave, makes it smaller, brings in more harmonics, and it's the addition of lots and lots of harmonics that start to make it sound like saturation and like distortion.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'm not sure exactly how it's done. I mean, I've seen its effect on waveforms, and they start to get denser and a lot more harmonics and spikes in the waveform. But yeah, I mean, you can take a simple wave like a triangle, and you can fold it into a square.
Is that like what the Minilog has on the VCOs, where you like shape
It's
it?
a little bit like that.
Yeah.
That's like altering the shape of the.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Of the oscillator. It's similar to that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just adding harmonics and
What have
whatnot.
I got that wave folds? There's a URAC module that's got some mental wave folding on it. I'm thinking of something else. Not sure.
Well, that's
Noise
all right.
and-
We know this has it.
Sounds
So.
on the some of the sounds that Noise Engineering did on the Arteria Micro Freak.
Oh yeah.
All about wave folding.
I gotta check that synth out, man.
The dirty
I mean, I
stuff.
know we're talking about the Moog, but that Micro Freak, I've been meaning to check that out for a while. That thing sounds crazy.
There's a lot of different things. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how much?
The
pretty
Micro
cheap too,
Freak.
right?
I think it's a similar price point
Yeah.
to this.
And they keep updating with like more.
I've not
firmware
seen an
keeps adding
update for a
stuff, right?
while, but the last time they updated it, it added 2 new oscillator types that Noise
Yeah.
Engineering had
Yeah.
collaborated on, which were pretty fruity sounding. It's yeah.
So that's the Moog synth, the Mavis, right? Is what it's called.
Yep.
Looks pretty sick. I mean, I've always wanted to get a Moog. I've never had one, but I like that they're offering something at such a competitive, almost entry-level price. I mean, I know I said it's not cheap, but it's like you said, Ian, like it's cheaper than anything they've put out. I like those DIY ones too, where you build it, because you kind of get a sense of connection to it. Even if it's a simple build like the NTS1, you just put together a couple pieces, screw it in and stuff, but it's like you feel a deeper connection to it, you know? So
Yeah.
it seems
I
like
like
a really
the
cool
way
idea.
Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I like the way their thinking's going recently as well. I mean, you know, they've always done that boutique analog synthesizer thing that they do so well.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. But then they started doing, they brought out the Mother, and you think, okay, well, that sounds classic Moog. Okay. But then they brought out the DFAM,
Oh
which
yes.
is a really different beast. And it's one of those things that doesn't sound like much and shouldn't work. But you ever see one used or have a go on one yourself, it's one of those things that kind of transcends what it actually is. Then they bring out the subharmonicon, which is again a
That thing's
concept that's a
crazy.
little bit, yeah, I really like the idea of one of those.
Yeah.
And that's a bit different as well. I like people who think about stuff differently and bring things out. And
Yeah.
now there's this, which would appear to be okay. It's like the Worksat or something like that, but no, it does have wave folding. It is semi-modular. Again, it is something different, and it's actually offering a lot for not a lot of money, which again is not something that they always or do or are known for. So I kind of like where they're going with all of this stuff,
Yeah.
and they're thinking of late.
Yeah, it seems like a really good way to go for them, and I like that they're offering things at multiple price points and levels, you know, entry level, more advanced, and things like that. It's a good way to go. It seems like they're kind of taking a cue from Korg in that sense, with like, you know, a couple different tiers of synth types and things like that. But they only have what, one polyphonic synth, Moog?
There's the Moog 1. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's paraphonic.
I mean, that's not their thing. They're big on the.
No,
I mean, they've always been
exactly.
monophonic. So I'm just
And
asking.
it's always a challenge with analog synths. You know,
Yeah.
if you're going to make 8 voices, it means you've got to make 8 voices.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like doing it in digital.
Yeah. Yeah.
They missed a trick here, though, I think, because it's like monophonic analog synthesizer voice. So that's actually MAVs, isn't it?
Yeah.
Massive.
I guess they just maybe they
That's
added the
kinda
I
massive.
somewhere, you know. Yeah, who knows? But that's the Mavis. Looks great.
Yep.
What do we've got next, Eon Lake?
Next, we got an update from Linktree.
That's right. Yeah.
They've made a few changes, which we're going to tell you about when I can get that shared.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy. They make it seem like it's this big change, and I mean, I didn't even notice when I opened my Linktree before I saw it change. I was like, "Oh, the colors seem brighter," and then and then I saw they sent this email. It's like brand new design. It's great. Yeah, see, Linktree had a makeover with this big exclamation mark. Like it's this huge game-changing thing. They've added a couple things. Like once you know they made a change, it's, you know, there's some stuff. But the biggest thing they added, they made a new font. I think they call it like Link Sans or something. And then the appearance of Linktree looks a little more 3D. I think they said it's like what they like try to emulate the look of 3D on the boxes or something. You can scroll down, you know, like it'll show some of the stuff.
They actually show you what it looks like. These are clips of it, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep. And they also updated the premium version of it because they have a Linktree Premium. I've never used it. I don't think you really need it, but I think you can customize like the background. Like, that's definitely from the premium. Some of the stuff that used to not be premium is now premium, so that was a bummer, but it is what it is. Yeah, so like there's that.
For the colors.
Yeah.
It's worth it for the colors, right?
Yeah, it's worth it for the colors, right? Yeah, there's the new font, Link Sans. And what else we got? I think they say there's the color. So that's for everybody, these new colors. They're much more vibrant. Like I had mine set to a purple even before this update, and then with the update, like I was saying, I was like, oh, that's much more purple.
They go from that to that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's much brighter, more eye-popping, which I think is good. You know, you want people to go to your stuff.
There's more choice, though, basically, isn't there? Because it was a little bit...
Exactly.
It was quite limited.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, they're saying, like, oh, it's more designed for you personally, which, you know, is nice marketing speak. I'm not speaking ill of the update. It's a cool update. You know, of course, they're going to try to put it as it's this game-changing thing. Not much really changed, but... it's worth looking at, tinkering with your Linktree if you have Linktree and didn't know about this update. If you don't have Linktree, it's worth getting Linktree or some sort of competitor. I forget the ones. I think there's like Campsite or something. I think links like that. I also use when I do releases. I use ToneDen.io. They make links called FanLink. and you get basically when you set up a thing on ToneDen, you put a link to like your Bandcamp or a Spotify. Like if you have a new release, you put the link to the album on Spotify, and it finds it on every other platform that it's on, and then makes a little landing page that has every single link to each platform it's on. So then you can just put that when you send it to people, and or if someone clicks on your link in an ad or on your Instagram or something like that, they go to that and they can find where they want to listen to you, rather than if you send them to Spotify, they don't use Spotify, you just lost a listen. So things like Linktree or FanLink, anything like that, it's good to have. I'd be curious in the chat if you guys use something like this. What do you use? Is it Linktree? Is it something else? Are you going to redesign your Linktree now with the new Link Sans font?
Yeah. Have you moved from one service to another one?
Yeah.
Have you found an improvement?
Yeah. Hydro Fighter, what about you? Do you use any of these?
I don't, but just looking at this site compared to going to other people's Linktree sites in the past, I mean, you can tell it looks a lot more modern. It just looks fresh. Right?
Yeah, it's a nice update.
The old site, I guess, looked kind of dingy in a way, like a 1990s application of sorts.
MS-DOS or something.
BB thing.
Yeah. How come you don't use one?
I don't think I have music and enough product published in different places.
Okay, but what about like having a hub for all of your social links / Bandcamp /
I'm not social, guys.
You're not social?
I just talk to you guys.
But you have a Twitter.
At some point, maybe, but I think that's probably something that Josh on the shady side would probably do more. Is maybe
I just love on the shady side. What are you insinuating?
Shady would probably use this before me and then incorporate what I'm doing with his stuff. Maybe it's a good way to put all of your artists in one spot, but I mean, Bandcamp kind of already does that. That's kind of all of our go-to. That's our go-to spot from most of the music I get, at least, right?
It's what some people do with a website, isn't it? It's like an aggregation point for all that you are. But if you don't want to manage a web page, I suppose it's an easy way to. And it helps with profiles, doesn't it? Just have a link tree in it rather than try and summarize it somehow.
Well, and I'm just looking at Sunwarper's page too, where you've got your patron stuff up there. You got your Bandcamp, your socials, your sample packs, right? And that makes sense.
It's
I just don't
nice
have
to have a
that
hub,
much.
And like I don't have a website because, as Eon was saying, I at the moment don't want to spend the money to like get a domain, do all that stuff, and design one and all that. So I just use Linktree and, like I said, FanLink. And then another thing I mentioned that might work for a label like Shady or something on Linktree. You could put a playlist of each of your artists on, like, let's say Spotify, because as I had mentioned in a previous ADSN, if a free user on mobile on Spotify goes to your Spotify, it just shuffles everything you have as your discography. You can't choose a song, whereas if you funnel them to a playlist, it starts at the first song, so you could, as the label,
good hack.
Yeah, exactly. Put it the way you want it. Put the top song or the most listenable or the song you're pushing right now that just released or something at the top. So it just gives you more options. That's something we're tinkering with at Audionautic. We have This Is Sunwarper, This Is Curtis. We're going to do for our other label mates. So yeah, it's just an interesting way. I think Linktree is an important facet of, or not just Linktree, but any of these sites like that where you can aggregate all of your links is a good way to market yourself with Instagram, things like that, the link in bio. It's just this way people can go where they want to find you, not put them somewhere that they may not listen. Like, a lot of people don't use Bandcamp, unfortunately. So if all you're posting is Bandcamp, you're going to just lose the person that might have wanted to listen. So that's all. That's all there is. Linktree got a design.
If anyone is using some of these, services that are less useful for musicians, you're still sort of reiterating that other services exist whilst guiding them to the one they're using.
Exactly. You can still put Bandcamp front and center and then have Spotify visible but near the bottom or something. So if someone really wants to go to Spotify, it's there. But maybe they'll go to your Bandcamp, and maybe they'll buy something on Bandcamp and become a user and realize Bandcamp's great for now.
at the moment.
Well,
with a little
well,
asterisk at the end.
well, gents, it's 37 minutes past the hour. We got a lot to go through yet today.
Yep.
I think we should probably move on.
Yeah, let's go to the TikTok.
Is that how Curtis kind of says it?
No, it's missing the accent.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna try to.
And it was too formal. Well, gents, I'm gonna ease you into the next topic.
Yeah.
He tries to find some way to spin it, and he goes, "Oh,
Yeah,
interesting, yeah, because."
Segue, but yeah, we're just like time next.
Yeah, we got to move on. Yeah, it's all right.
So, do you want to see this TikTok page?
Yeah, this is something Hydro Fighter sent, and since he moved us so nicely.
Well, short and sweet on this. It's basically a bunch of trash where the story is really about Halsey and how she wanted to release a single, and her label basically said, "We're not going to release it unless you start a trend on TikTok."
Yeah.
And so she posted a TikTok with some verbiage in it that said that she can't release the single because her label won't let her unless she does some sort of TikTok type of thing. And it basically goes down to how much worse are even the major labels getting worse by not promoting.
They're making the artist promote it.
Well, there's always been, the fight between the artist and the label going back however many years, but it just seems to progress even more now, where isn't the label supposed to be doing the promotion for the artists? And now they're basically saying, well, we're not going to allow you to do this because you're under contract. So we want you to market yourself before we even release this type of thing.
Well, you have to prove that there's a demand for it before we'll put it out. Isn't this your business? Isn't this what you do?
Yeah, isn't that what you do? I remember years ago reading a book about like music marketing, and it was like, why do you don't need a label? And it was saying with streaming and things like that, labels are taking a cut because of the lower payments and things like that. Labels are now taking a cut of your touring, of your merch, and they don't have any hand in it. They just, as part of the contract, say we get a 360 deal, everything you sell, part of it comes to us, even though like we're not going to do anything for your merch, but we get a cut of it. And that's like the relevancy of a label has gone down and down and down, and now you're seeing them force an artist to promote a song that's not even out, and they're like, we'll only release it if it's doing well, but it's not released. So it's just this crazy thing. But I did like, near the end of this article, they play devil's advocate and talk about how this may have all been manufactured by artist label and things like that to make it viral. Not necessarily Halsey, but they said, I think other artists have done similar things like this, where they talk about like, oh, give me likes, or like this so the label knows that we can release it and things like that. It's interesting. Like, is it
not telling the truth?
Is it this counter marketing type thing? Yeah, exactly. But it's just like TikTok is changing the way marketing works for these major labels and things. And are they doing these weird marketing to someone without making you think it's marketing? Like, hey, this won't release unless it goes viral. Can you make it viral?
I always like in the way with these stars of sorts where it's like, you need the label to become that superstar that you become. But once you have all of that attention, now you think you can go independent, but you're still under contract. It's just weird to me how, the young kids, they want to become these superstars, and then 10 years later, they want out of their contract and say that the record company ripped them off. But what do you really want? I guess?
I think $1 million advance means you got $1 million. They don't realize you've got to pay for everything out of that and live out of it and the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the diminishing returns of actual music purchases, streaming, and things like that, it kind of makes sense why it's been turning into this way. But it's like, it seems like there's been this transitory period that's never ended. It keeps transitioning into the streaming. We went from CDs and then digital downloads to this streaming thing, but it's never fully adjusted, and they're just still finding ways to try to work around it and things like that. And yeah, I don't know, it's interesting.
I would be failing on that.
What's that, Ian Lake?
I would say credit to Pitchfork for highlighting this kind of thing. Yeah.
And Hydro Fighter, what were you saying?
I was going to say I would completely fail at this because I'm not on enough socials.
You don't even have a link tree.
I know, right? So count me out. Do we want to move on? Do we want to move on to the NAMM stuff?
Yeah, we can cover NAMM real quick.
Gear.
Yeah,
NAMM,
like gear. I just think this is a really interesting point to talk about. We always talk about marketing and things like that, and it's interesting to see TikTok has become this dominating force, at least for major labels and things like that, where you're seeing.
Scary.
Yeah, it's very scary that one platform.
You read their privacy policy, and I suggest you do before signing up.
That too. Yeah, I know there's some issues with like using it on your phone and stuff I had read and things like that, but just that one platform has this dominance that a label won't release. At least they're saying TikTok. Maybe they mean all platforms or something, but a label's not releasing a song unless it becomes viral on TikTok. Yeah. What were you saying, Ian Lake? I couldn't hear you.
I think they see it as their route to the youth market.
Probably, yeah. No, I'm sure that's right. It's just interesting that like a single platform can hold power over whether a popular singer can release a song or not. You know.
Well, if we go back and look at Prince and what happened there.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Well, anyways, let's talk about gear. A happier topic.
4, maybe?
What's that?
Neutron 4, maybe?
Yeah, let's start there.
So we have this gentleman here. And he wouldn't. This was your choice, wasn't it? Hydrofighter?
This was mine. And the tool is really intelligence.
Yeah, we briefly talked about this last week. I know Curtis brought it up as the AI aspect, but yeah, Hydrofighter, what's your take on it?
Well, I thought the cool thing was it's reading the EQ is reading your signal in real time and in balancing the EQ based on the signal that's coming in. That was one of the cool features of this. So you've got your EQ, you've got compression, you've got saturation, and it's really kind of cleaning up your mix with intelligence, so you're not really doing the work so much yourself as much as the plugin is actually doing that for you. And the other thing that they showed on here was balancing your mix, say like between vocals and your other instruments. How do you make your vocals boom out a little bit more by balancing your other instruments? And they've got intelligence built in to do that, and being able to select certain frequency ranges to make that easy. I thought it just seemed like a very intuitive thing, but it almost seemed like too easy to a point where I don't know if I trust it yet without trying it. But it's $200, which isn't extremely expensive for something like this, but it's still there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea, and like we mentioned when we talked about Neutron and Ozone and all that stuff, like I find it's really helpful just either when you need a quick reference, or like if you're just making an Instagram reel or something and you just want it to sound slightly like, all right, take out some of the harsh notes and harsh tones and things like that, but you don't have the time to do like a master or take time to EQ. It's convenient for that, but I've found when someone gives me a song they used with Ozone and then like asks me to master the original one, like there's some glaring issues still, and like it peaks in weird spots and things like that. So I'm sure as it goes, it advances more and more, but seems like there's a long way to go. And it also brings up, I don't know if you want to call it ethical questions, but like where does it end, like at artistry or just using AI to do it? And like, it brings up these interesting issues, which maybe aren't that important, but I like to think about that type of stuff. Like
how do you learn it yourself if you've got a machine doing it for you?
And then where is the line between you actually made something or the AI made it, and you just put some what do you call it, options into it, like, well, here's a this and that, and go crazy,
I just assumed you were using something like that because your mixes always sound so much better than mine.
Oh, how nice. No, I just practice and practice and practice, and it's what I love doing. So yeah.
The one thing cool though that you did see about this is it doesn't put a load on your CPU.
Yeah.
So you could put it on every track, you could put it on the master, and it's not going to dog it down. So I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if I would buy it quite yet. It seemed cool, but it seemed too easy. Like like what you said, it's almost like they're trying to trick you into it. But
yeah, Ian, like, what's your take on
it? I guess the artistry thing and how much of it you want to do, these are decisions that everyone makes for themselves, really. But I see things like this. I think it's good where there's a knowledge gap, where you need help and you don't have time to learn everything, perhaps. But at the same time, I see more and more things from music creation to music production to the final stages of, brushing things out ready for release and so on. I think if you've got a tool that does every one of those things, do you really want to be making music?
Yeah.
Is this for you? Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it just seems like, apart from anything, some of the fun out of it. I mean, I think it's probably really good value because it's a number of things under one hood as a kind of a mastering thing. So it's like, as you say, it's a dynamic EQ, but it's also mimicking some of the things that Waves plugins have been doing for a while. Space creators for bass, kick, vocals, whatever it is you need, and so on. But really, I get a bit frustrated with that because I think surely that's just mixing, right? And that's actually building a track. And personally, I want to put the effort into being able to do those things really well so that I didn't really have a use for a tool that does it.
Yeah.
But that's how we do our stuff. We do the production of our own stuff. We do the mixing. We do some of the mastering. We do that little things. If you're a singer-songwriter or in a rock band, you don't care about that. You just want to play power chords. That's maybe something different.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has its uses. It makes sense. And even Curtis had mentioned in a previous episode, like when he's working on something commissioned, if it's not something he really loves, he might use it just to get, like, if there's a timetable and he's got to get it done, maybe he uses that. Like I was saying with Instagram Reels, like, yeah, I'm not going to spend a long time EQing this guitar to get out harsh frequencies. I'll just let this algorithm sense the biggest ones and take care of it. So it's there's a line, there's a scale to it and stuff, and I get its use. I think it's really cool. I just wonder, with any sort of technology, how it can be used in a, I don't want to say bad way, but like the ethical, like where does the artistry end? Where does the algorithm and AI start? Things like that. But it has its uses.
Some people would say, well, the artistic bit's been done. It's already recorded and mixed. And
true. So, I mean, there's,
I would disagree.
I'm not one to stick to dogmatic views, so whatever.
Yeah, I think there's an art to mastering, and I think mastering engineers would probably agree.
Yeah, I mean, I don't use it for mastering, and I've had experiences where, like I said, I've gotten tracks that have been done by it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, let's work around.
Not everything you record is going for a Grammy, is it?
Yeah.
So you can afford to slap this on something.
Yeah, and that's what's cool. Like what Hydro Fighter said, some band that they know how to play their instruments, but they don't know production or something. They can do it. It's makes it a DIY
or if they
thing.
Recorded a live set.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to just brush it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Ian? Like, what was your favorite thing from?
So that guy on Sonic State's channel will be happy to tell you all about it.
Hey, that's cheating.
I was looking through all this stuff, and I was looking at some of the 4MS stuff that they re-released a very useful old module on the Eurorack. That's actually the module and its breakout panel all on one thing. But then I kept on going, and something caught my eye, and I must admit, it did start to fall into the I want one of those pile. So,
that's a big pile for you.
Yeah.
It is a big pile.
Let's be fair.
Santa Claus must have a tough time getting all those presents down the chimney, buddy.
What have I done with it? Where is it? Come on.
What was the name of it again?
It's the...
it's on my other browser. Hang on a sec.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We're navigating the tech difficulties. Curtis, this is what you do to us.
Yeah. Come back, bro. All's forgiven.
I didn't mean any of it.
It helps if you open it all in the same device.
Yeah, that would help, actually.
It's the
It's worth the wait,
Positronic
it is worth the
Recursion
wait.
Studio.
It's a Positronic Recursion Studio. Okay.
Yeah,
It's a video synthesizer.
A video
It's
synthesizer?
Yeah, that's what makes it so cool.
Right? We've got all audio synthesizers. We've got analog. We've got digital. This little fella synthesizes video.
Oh, that's sick.
Right, and it does.
Well, if you look at like the backdrop of what the screen is here,
fractal wave folding.
Yeah.
Right?
So that's not just a cool aesthetic.
Demonstration. Look.
consortium of
I'm going to cut the volume on that and just show you some of the...
Yeah, it seems like it's coming.
So this thing puts
a
out
little,
1080p high definition.
It's a little choppy. I don't know if it's gonna come through. Like...
Yeah.
So that
obviously the actual device doesn't produce choppy. It's like 1080p high definition stuff. There are controls on it so that you can fiddle with it while it's playing. It has all sorts of audio, MIDI, and CV inputs.
So wait, are you
so
putting
you can
MIDI
give it
into
control
it and it
voltages, you can
creates
send MIDI
fractals from it?
Yes.
Oh, so it's not
fractalized and kaleidoscopized images.
Oh, that's trippy.
You've got a set of stock ones already on the unit that you can use. It will take webcam inputs, and you can do this with live video. You really should watch. These guys are great. They've got a brilliant sense of humor. You really should watch the watch the video. They say quite a way into it. We don't recommend that you kaleidoscopize pornography. We tried it, and it's weird.
Oh God. Yeah.
But yeah, they've got a very odd website. But this thing seems to have some really good range. Yeah, it's got all the connectivity you could want, I think. And yeah,
really for live,
cool.
like a live gig.
$1,300 US.
How much
for
does
the
it
gig?
cost?
I mean, come on, yeah. $1,200 actually, I think it is dollars.
Ooh.
And it's a module you could put in a module.
Yeah.
Did you say? Yeah. Interesting.
Well, no, you can feed modular control voltages to it.
Okay.
So you can tie it to it. It will respond to audio triggers. You can use basic audio, I think, but you can also send it MIDI and CV and some other things. You can upload your own pictures. And so on. It just looks like fun. There were some good ones near the end, I think, as well. Just skip forward a bit.
Yeah, just skip to it.
Some of this pastel stuff, it steps away from the traditional hippie stuff, but it's still kind of hypnotic in a more modern sort of way,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's a bit of money. Maybe you'd need to get a few of you to chip in for it or something. But
I mean, for like a duo or a couple people in a band or something, it could make sense.
Yeah,
I think it makes sense for Eon just because it's not in his collection.
It's a piece of gear. It makes sense for Eon Lake if it exists. Even if it doesn't exist, if it exists in someone's mind, it's a thing for Eon Lake. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, put it this way. I think they're giving the first 7 away, so I've signed up for updates.
Well, I might as well too then.
It would be cool to see this as a backdrop on the show every week.
Yeah, or for the intro. Curtis still needs to render out an intro for the audio mix I made for the starting soon. So, Curtis, this is something for you if you're listening back. So lastly, we'll go to mine, which, big surprise, it's an Oberheim synthesizer. You all know I love profits and things like that. But this is the new Oberheim. Let's see if Eon Lake has it queued up, though. That's the question.
I got it.
Oh, there we go.
OBX8.
Yeah.
He doesn't want one of these.
This thing looks like a beast.
Yeah.
Do you want to listen to any of this?
I don't. If it comes through, yeah. Just lower it a pinch. He gets this one pad that's just so gorgeous sounding.
It really looks like the OBX8 as well.
Well, I think it has the envelopes of 3 previous Oberheims.
So the X8.
That one, this pad. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That pad is just like god tier pad. Yeah. All right, that should be enough to show. It's got quite the range, but I believe it has the envelopes of 3 previous Oberheims, so you can kind of get sounds from previous ones. It's 8 voice, which is awesome, and I also think this is the last synth that Dave Smith worked on too. So
that would look really nice next to your Prophet.
I know. If I had the money, if anybody wants to donate, let me know.
No, you can donate to I want the Juno 60 fund, and if we could trade them up, I guess.
Maybe we could just buy one and ship it to each other. You know, like you get it for 6
Seasonally.
weeks. I get yeah. When it's cold, you get it. In the summers, I'll get it. You know.
We can't ship
It's
that
really
internationally.
retro,
It's
though.
just too expensive.
Yeah, well, Elon Lake will get his own, I'm sure.
I like the Oberheim stuff, and
Yeah.
I think Eddie Van Halen played a lot of the Oberheim synths, and I love his playing on that stuff too.
Yeah.
He doesn't get enough credit for how he played keyboards. But...
No, yeah, that's true. And I think they even mentioned him in the website for this synth about the OBX or XA or whatever that
I think it was the XA we used, yeah.
Yeah, that like that's one of the ones they have that you can use the envelope of and things like that.
So you can play Jump.
Yeah,
right?
you can play Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all you need, man. That's
Yeah.
it. That's all you need. Yeah. But yeah, that's it for me. Do you guys want to go over the marketing, or do you guys want to do a quick round robin?
Oh, I'll go with the round robin actually, because that was a good one, I thought.
Yeah, I agree. We can
was
hold the
mine, yeah.
marketing for next week. It's a quick one. It's just a new website that Spotify announced. It's for artists, you know, that supposedly helps you navigate getting Spotify streams and things like that. A lot of it is pretty common knowledge, but it's all good to know and go over. So we'll talk about that next week. But for this week, Hydro Fighter took Curtis's place with an interesting round robin topic. Do you want to let us know what it is?
Absolutely, it is sequencing versus playing.
Yeah.
When do you sequence? When do you play? Are there advantages of doing one over the other? Certain instruments, you know, Mike. I mean, you do a lot of guitars, you do a lot of synthesizers.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I don't play drums, so I sequence the drums.
Mm-hmm. You don't hit them with the keyboard?
I
pad?
will use a step sequencer, but that's
Okay.
still sequencing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So how do we use different tools to sequence? What other tools do we use to play? I use a keyboard. I'm using step sequencers. I use a
Mhm.
push. I used to strictly sequence everything, and it takes the feel out of the song sometimes. When I
Yeah.
sit behind a keyboard, I'll anticipate the beat maybe a little bit more, move the
Mhm.
beat around instead of just wanting to easily draw like a whole note or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you guys hear my drums, and I'm always strong on the ones for the kicks and the twos and fours for the snares. But I find doing sequencing advantageous for me on drums and bass. Everything else I use different tools for. So
Mm-hmm.
keyboard for harmonic structures. I use the push for leads. But I might sequence arpeggios.
So when you
Right.
when you play the keyboard, are you quantizing it after and moving it around a little bit in the sequencer?
Only if I really mess up bad.
Okay.
But usually I like to keep it where it lands.
Do
I
you
think
do-
it gives it more of a natural feel.
So you don't do even like a 50% quantize or something like that?
No, I mean,
Okay.
I have to put it into a loop so it hits
Yeah.
on
Right. Yeah.
in the right spot. But that's where it gets tough to anticipate the beat
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, because if you're ahead of the beat in a loop, it's tough to do. But I
Yeah.
just love the natural feel of playing.
Yeah.
I
too.
think it's more than just timing. I mean, the timing thing's kind of popular, but I think that's what I get less from things being just slightly out of time. I mean, unless you're talking about piano, where you actually, it's a technique to not play all the keys at once. You almost trill them, you know, in certain styles. But
The lo-fi.
for me, it's more about note length variation and volume, you know, the volume velocity variation,
That's
and
what I was
also not necessarily playing things slightly out of time, but actually at different times. So slightly playing with a melody. So I tend to try and play lead lines and things like that more, because I don't want it to be the same 4 times round. I want it to be quite different, you know, and sometimes I want to hold a note half a bar longer and retime the rest of the motif or whatever. So those would be the times when I want to actually record it.
Are you doing that on keyboard?
Yeah.
David
Sometimes
is in the chat. Hey, David, real quick, we're into talking about sequencing versus playing. Love to hear your take. Do you sequence your tracks? Do you play like on the piano, on a MIDI keyboard. That's what we're talking about. It seems like the three of us all play to an extent.
I try to mix it up a lot because
I try
get
to play everything.
from them,
but I will say sometimes when I create songs, I sequence it, draw it in, you know, just so I'm all on the keyboard at once. Or I'll play with like a MIDI keyboard, and then I actually perform every part with like hardware or my guitar. Like sometimes I'll record guitar as MIDI, you know, or just put it as notes like mouse and keyboard, and then I'll perform it later because I can just move the notes around to get really weird chords instead of just the chords I'd normally gravitate to, and then I perform it.
I've been doing the reverse lately.
Really?
Where I write the part on my bass, and then I
MIDI. Yeah, that's another
then I
one
put it
I'll
into a
do,
synth. Then
Yeah.
I put it into a synth.
That's
part.
another one I'll do too. There's another thing too, like Reason, you can record audio and then move it into a MIDI file, and it'll make MIDI based on like it won't do the keys or the notes, but it'll give the like actual, you know, the hits, and then you can make the MIDI off of it. Or like it's really easy for if you record a bass and then you want the drums to follow it, you have the notes that you can just put the kick. So it's a nice way to do it, and then it's not on the grid because you performed it. And David says he plays his tracks rarely sequence. Yeah, so that's.
I might
that's cool.
sequence to do the design of the synths to build the sound, because sometimes you're inspired by the sound to create your harmonic structures.
Yeah.
Right.
Sometimes I might hang them out really rough because I know that I'm going to re-record it, and the part will actually be different when it gets re-recorded. I might, you know, play the rhythm differently because of other bits I've written. So it's kind of just like a placeholder, really.
Yeah, my only issue with that is like sometimes I really fall in love with that placeholder track, and I'm like, what do I like? I can't replicate. You just can't replicate it exactly. You know that. So you just keep it, and it's like I mean, it works, you know. So I try to record things at like the highest fidelity that I can.
It takes some of the pressure off, doesn't it? If you think, well, this isn't the keeper, I can just play it.
True.
And it actually comes out all right. I go, I fooled me.
And David also says, I do like to loop as it feels less rigid than sequencing. Yeah, definitely.
Who said that? Sorry.
David in the chat.
Thanks, David.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, some things you want to sound really metronomic and rigid, and especially if you're going to be using a lot of delay on it and something, and the fact that it is metronomic, it doesn't change. Maybe you're using that as ostinato or pedal point for something else, then it works to have it, you know, really regimented.
Yeah, but I do get like
it's easier to modulate it and change it when you're playing it, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a cool thing about performing the part, like you were saying, Jan, like you get the velocity changes and things like that, but also as you also mentioned, those differences in timing just make it sound so much more lush and human, and I think the ear wants to gravitate to that human sound, because like I'll perform a melody, you know, I sequence it and then I play it, or if I'm playing a part and then like Hydrofighter mentioned converting it into MIDI for later, or if I need a doubled sound or something, you can just, it's like even if you nudge a little MIDI note, it's just not the same as when you play it. I mean, if you spend a lot of time meticulously nudging it and things like that, yeah, you might get it, but it's like you could just play it and have it. So yeah, I definitely think playing has its purpose, and yeah, sequencing is there. It's nice, like with the circuit, it's fun to sequence something, and then you can do more human stuff on the instruments or on the SP or something like that. So yeah,
I think harmonic ideas come out of me better over a keyboard.
Yeah,
different play than trying to sequence against a piano roll. It just doesn't.
Just dull, right?
Yeah,
like
right. I mean, you got to do note by note by note,
and you don't have that tactile feel. Like I just want to hit a note and be like, oh, I'll hit this note too, you know, rather than like moving a mouse and things like that. It's so much easier to just transfer what's in my head to an instrument than like a piano roll.
But Ian, now you're using sequencers in your rack, in your modular stuff, right? And how many sequencers do you have for that? 80, 90, 100.
Only 3.
But that's a total different style of sequencing.
5.
You have 5 sequencers.
Ableton and and a beat step. There are 3 in the rack, and then there are 2 outside of it. There's an Ableton link that goes to it, so I can just plug in an oscillator and an envelope and stuff and nav, and just play it from here.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I haven't dug into yet with the VCV rack is sequencer so much.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to use them for the random type of sequencing.
Yeah, the crazy stuff.
Yeah, but I'm just not to that place yet. But and that's where I see sequencing being a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's some crazy stuff you can do. Like the Renee has like patterns it goes through the grid on, and you can just change the snake pattern, and it goes around in a different pattern and plays the same notes in a different order. And you can disable certain positions so it skips straight past them, and it's very easy to get variations on something that you like just with a couple of presses, and it gives you new ideas.
Yeah.
And when you get an idea, you come on and play something on top of it, you know. But one of the reasons I play is just because I want to get better at playing, you know. Speaking as a drummer, it only takes me 50 takes to get it right. So I cut it down to 40, maybe 38, you know.
Do you play drums a lot on your stuff?
A bit. Sometimes when I want, if you want a certain groove, I know what it sounds like. I know how to play it. I could never program it. So, yeah, why not? But other times I want something that's artificially, you know, tight, staccato, you know, deliberately artificial. Sometimes I mix the two together just for the hell of it.
Right. I do like playing drums, like performing them with a keyboard or those little pads on like a circuit or something. Then I just quantize it.
And just see what happens.
Yeah.
What did Phil Collins say about drum machines? Something like you can't get a drummer to play that repetitive pattern over and over like that. It's just too boring for a drummer where they have to move it.
Yeah, I mean, you almost can. I've had some guys who can just play, you know, really simple stuff metronomically, but it's just a rare gift in drummers, I've got to say. You know, like the old joke, how do you know one's at the door? The knocking speeds up.
Yeah, I will say, though, sequencing or programming, maybe more to the point, like in the piano roll for ghost notes on drums, or even like if you're doing bass, a synth bass that's MIDI, like it's fun to do those Com-Trues type like little things. You just add a couple notes going spanning the octaves or something like that. David says sequencing is modular, works for sure, and adding live drums is really fun and underrated. Yeah. Live drums changes a song very, like, drastically. Even just taking samples of live drummers and putting it on, like, I have some sample packs from drummers, and you just throw it in and mix, like, a program drum with the live drum, or just do the live drum. But I love that mix of the synced drum with, like, a slightly off snare from a live drummer and the hi-hats, and you get that groove going, but there's that play between the quantized kick and the snare and things just moving around dynamically. It's a great way to add some emotion and just like variation to it.
We're doing some more of that with the SB404 because it's a good way of just quickly getting a little bit of kit into us.
Yeah, definitely.
Hit record and bang, 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 done.
Yeah. Well, gents, I think that's it.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying that a lot of these tools all give you something slightly different, a slightly different perspective. Sometimes it helps shift your thinking, but they've all got their place, really, haven't they?
Yeah, totally. Anything else about it, Hydrofighter?
We could go on for another hour talking about this stuff, and I could easily
join us for hour 2.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's it then. I appreciate Hydrofighter. Thanks for stepping in for Curtis. If you like the show, consider supporting us over on Patreon. We have additional content, a whole other podcast where we talk. Right now, Starstream, our other podcast that's Patreon exclusive, is Eon Lake, myself, and Curtis all trading stems and seeing what weird sort of songs we can create from these stems. It's been a lot of fun. Eon Lake sent us these crazy modular experiments, and Curtis and I have just been chopping up little segments and making songs out of it. I, of course, put Supermassive on it and made a nice little pad. And look at that! An hour and 11 minutes in, and we get Supermassive.
The drinking game at home.
Take a drink. Take a drink. Yeah.
There's your first shot.
But hey, we'd appreciate you checking it out. And the patrons, of course, can hop in the video. About halfway through every episode of ADSN, we let the patrons in if they can hop in.
That's usually me.
Hydro Fighter is always ready to come in.
It's a great experience.
So we can grill them properly.
Yeah, but that's it for today. Let us know sequencing, playing. What do you do if you're in the chat afterwards? Let us know in the comments. We just love to hear all the different ways people create music and things like that, and that's how we all learn. You know, we talk about what we do and then take the best bits of everything and put it together, and then we grow. So with that, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.